Painting with Menoth John is presented in Superlegitivision. Superlegitivision, the future of podcasting. It's .com.
Hello, I'm
Menoth John.
and I'd like to welcome you. First of all, let me take just a moment to thank you for allowing me back into your homes. If this is your first time with us, let me extend a personal invitation for you to drag out your
miniatures
and paint along with us each week. Let's go over to the canvas here and let's get started. I believe, every day's a good day when you paint. I believe, it'll bring a lot of good thoughts to your heart. I believe, every day's a good day when you paint. I believe, it'll bring a lot of good thoughts to your heart. Let's build a happy little cloud. Let's build some happy little trees. There are no limits here. Start out by believing here. You can almost paint with anything. All you have to do is practice.
Oh, for the love of God. Stop it. Stop it, Malware Bytes. Jesus. Every time I want to click a button, Malware Bytes is giving me a damn thing here. Stop it. Ah! You know, God damn it. I'm sitting here, I'm trying to start a podcast about painting, and all Malware wants to do is tell me about how they're going to block a website. Well, for Christ's sakes, Russians, stop hacking my podcast. For the love of sweet Lord baby Jesus. You know, they may not have affected the outcome of the 2016 election. Sorry. But, you know, here at the Painting with Menoth John show, we say, Putin, get the fuck out. Yeah, that's right. That's our message for the night. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Menoth John, and this is what has become the Painting with Menoth John show. You know it from, various and sundry places such as the internets. And here we are. With me tonight, up in the catbird seat. You know him. You love him. He is the mighty right hand of the podcast. He is, of course, Mr. John Spencer.
Hello.
Below him, of course, we have our favorite mascot, Gonzo the Irrational.
Yay.
And with us, because it is a Brushhead Gallery night, we have the one and only, the luscious Seth Watkins.
Hello, everyone.
Oh, that was
Thank you for sending your entries.
Oh my God, I'm so wrecked. Anyway, so there you go, folks. Well, we've mentioned erections, and it's T plus 4 minutes and counting.
Boom.
We're gonna have a hell of a show. As we did talk about, this is a Brushhead Gallery show. That means that we're going to be showing off some of the amazing pieces of art that you, the Brushheads, have contributed. We have about 55 slides to go through tonight. Lots and lots of pictures from the Brushheads. We are also giving away a professionally painted Fisherman's Guild Ball team, as painted by the one and only Seth Watkins. So it is super sweet and totally legit. But, you know, John, it's been a while since we've had the business.
It has been quite some time since we had the business.
So we are going to have the business. As soon as I get my piece of paper over here. We have with us a very, very special guest. I mean, it's so special that I can't even get over it. And he's here to talk about John Con. Were you aware that John Con 2017 is coming, Mr. John Spencer?
I was aware of that. I'm getting ready to order plane tickets.
All right, so we're still shooting for September 8th, 9th, and 10th here in beautiful Racine, Wisconsin. By the way, that is how you pronounce it. It is Racine, unless you want to be a goob who doesn't know how to pronounce it. If you want to be like the locals, the cool folks, you got to say Racine. You can't say Racine, even though it's probably properly pronounced Racine because it's French or something like that. Anyway, with us today from the forests of Ios, you know him as Discordia. He prefers to be called Disco because he is a happening kind of guy. Here he is to give you all the details you need on John Con 2017. Here is Disco the Jack.
Hello,
I am the disco of the Jack, and you know me from all of the times that I'm protecting your sorry ass with my extra aura of protection. And I am here to tell you tonight about the GenCon 2017. GenCon 2017 is going to be a very, very special event that is going to be benefiting both the food shelf of the Racine County. You know, people, they are starving. They don't maybe have as much as you and I do. I do not eat, of course. I am using our contract things, but the people, they cannot eat. But, we are going to raise lots of the mood for the food, for the meat for the people, so that they can have lots to eat. And that will be on the September, as you say, 8th, 9th, and 10th in Racine, Wisconsin. And it will be actually, it'll actually only be the 8th and the 9th. The 10th, we have said, fuck you. There will be no Sunday night extravaganza, but there will be a Friday and Saturday night. This year, one thing that is a little bit different than the 2016, is that it will not be all happening at the Menoth John house, because we cannot put this many people in Menoth John house. There will be a great fire hazard, causing many problems with the insurance and also the sanity, as they say, of the Menoth John, which is barely knit together with the staple, or maybe how they say, the Elmer's glue. And so we don't want bad things to be happening. On Friday, for the low cost of the $10, that is American dollar, for those of you who are from the Canada or from the Poland, perhaps India, as some of our listeners are from, that is $10 American. We are capping this at 10 people. We will be having a coffee and beer tasting featuring Menoth John and the Beer Machine Rich. So if you want to be a part of this, it will cost $10 to get into the door. But you will be drinking a variety of beers and reserve coffees made in only the best ways that Menoth John know how to make. So it is, he knows his shit about the coffee, Anyway, so that will be on Friday night. That will run from 7 p.m. to midnight at Casa John. And then the big show, as Menoth John likes to say, is on Saturday at the Moose Lodge. Moose, that is a big mammal from the Canada. But they have the lodge here in Racine. And that will be, there will be a 16-person food machine rules event, steamroller, with the fancy using someone else's, some other faction's Warcaster or Warlock. And then we will be pushing, Menoth John will, of course, be putting the rules out when they become available. So you can make your lists. There will also be, at the same time, we'll have Colossal Wrestling. There will be 2 Colossal Wrestling rings set up. Menoth John has told me that he will be bringing all the Colossals he owns. And hopefully, if you bring yours, you can use yours, of course. But, we will have for the lending. And so there will be Colossal Wrestling going on. We also will be having the board game library. I don't know how many of you have seen all of the board games that Menoth John has. And so he'll be bringing many of them so you can play the board games. Also, we'll be having 4-person scrambles. We are going to be having, maybe 2018, we have 8-person scramble. But for now, we have the 4-person scramble. We work up to this. And that will be going on alongside of the big food machine event. And during the scramble, you will still be able to purchase tickets to get re-rolls. So instead of all of this shenanigan of the 16-person big event, we will also have the little shenanigans, the very, very cute shenanigans of the re-roll. All of this is to get money out of your pocket and put it in the mouth of the poor. So once again, we're also heard that Scott Heibel will be doing an RPG. RPGs are fun because you get to play pretend, and pretend is fun. And he'll be running one of those. Add to that all of the other shenanigan. We will be having a cash bar at the Moose with a real bartender. And we will teach them how to make the Force Blow. So you'll be able to order the Force Blow and drink one yourself. And that is what we are going to be doing. So on behalf of the Painting with Menoth John Great Empire, just so you know that will be coming up. We will be taking, we will figure out how we are going to be handling. We will probably be handling the the tickets via the PayPal. And we will, of course, be 100% transparent so that everyone knows that every dollar that they donate will get them a ticket, which they can use to raffle off some of the great prize support that will be coming in for us. And also, they will be all of the money, every last single dollar, will be going to the poor. So last year, Menoth John he made $750 in the kind that fold, and then we also had 150 canned goods as well. And if you would like to bring canned goods, that is lovely, because then we can take those canned goods and that will get you a ticket as well. So it'll be the 8th and 9th, the 9th at the Moose Lodge for $10 to get in the door, and then $10 for the Friday night extravaganza with the coffee and the beer. So on behalf of all of iOS, we hope that you will come. And also remember, if you cannot make it to JohnCon, there will be a JohnCon 2017 GoFundMe page, and you will be able to donate that as well. So I think that is all. And with that, back to Menoth John. So there you go, folks. Disco, thank you very much for your appearance on the show. Really appreciate you coming in from the forest of iOS. And any questions that you guys have about JohnCon?
Nope. Just got to make sure I can go.
So there is a hotel just down the street from where the Moose Lodge is. I am going to inspect it for sanitation in the next during this next week, and because it's not a big place, it's like one of those mom and pop places. If it doesn't crawl, I will recommend it. And we're seeing some dropped frames, I guess, on something.
Yes.
But wow, Twitch is struggling.
Yeah, it's having some drop rates. Facebook Live is doing fine, so no big deal there.
Okay. For those of you who need to bail on the Twitch because life sucks, so when do tickets start? Okay, so tickets start now, okay? So if you hear this, tickets start now. The way that you will reserve your spot is to send me an email to pwmenothjohn@gmail.com and tell me what nights you want tickets for, and that kind of stuff. Just tell me what nights you want. So that's Friday night is $10. Saturday during the day is $10. If you're going for both days, it's $20 because 1 + 1 = 2. And, well, actually 10 + 10 = 20, which is more relevant. Then we'll get you signed up. So send me the emails, and then I will tell you where to send the cashola to. And we'll start keeping track of all that kind of stuff. So that was a question from Sassy Greyjoy. So the times of the actual the Friday night tickets are first come, first serve. John, if you're planning on coming, I'm reserving a slot for you. I'm reserving a slot for actually Rich and I don't count because we're hosting it, but we'll save you a spot, John, in that one.
I appreciate it.
So that's JohnCon 2017. It's gonna be super sweet and totally legit, and that's it. So should we let's quickly get a beverage update here. This started out as a Bloody Mary. Now it's an empty glass, or is about to be. And then I've also got a shot of Kraken because, it's Brushhead Gallery. And what about you, Mr. John Spencer?
I got a shot of Loco Nut Coconut Rum, and then I'm going to follow it up with a Mountain Dew Spiked Lemonade.
Nice.
Made from diabetes.
What do you got there, Gonzo?
I am hitting the water hard tonight, so I'm going to make Spencer my designated drinker.
Outstanding. And what about you, Mr. Seth?
I'm going to be pasting Gonzo with the water. I was at street fairs all day, so that means that I'm going to make Menoth John, you're going to be my designated drinker.
Well, hot damn tamale. Well, on behalf of Seth, Gonzo, and that poor bastard up in the upper left-hand corner. Hey, Ron.
Ron. Ron.
Oh, Ron.
All right. So, it's a Brushhead Gallery, motherfuckers. And so here we are. It's going to be super sweet and totally legit. I'm going to go ahead and bring up, Yes. Okay, we get it, Twitch. You're dropping frames. It's not my fault. At least I don't think it's my fault. Let's go ahead and
It's
let's
not your fault.
go ahead and get the Brushhead gallery up here. And I am excited about tonight's Brushhead gallery. Here we go. Boom. By the way, I want to thank our graphic artist for the new overlays you saw there. We have a little Necrons going on in one of them, and we've got a new one coming up for the movie section too, coming in here in the latter part of the show. Seth, super happy to have you on the show. I'm super glad that you've been a part of these over the last 3 or 4 of them that we've done.
Yeah, about that.
Yeah,
It's been a great time. Happy to be here.
All right, so let's go ahead and let's kick this off. The way that I set these up was the earliest ones. In other words, the ones I've been sitting on for the longest period of time have been moved to the front, just to make sure that they get shown. And this here is from Craig Caton, who is the only guy who's older and grumpier than I am in the War Machine and Hordes community. And this is I love how colorful his gators are, and they're kind of all like Mardi Gras gators. And here you go. Here's a blind walker. Seth, your thoughts?
Yeah, I like the colors. I like the Mardi Gras aspect. The different candles, I think, works really well. I was wondering if it would make more sense to have the smaller candles have a different color flame than the large cauldron.
Oh,
Just because the green gets kind of lost in the purple and the yellow. I think that's the big thing. I'd also just love to see a little bit of dark lining around the ropes. Because when we look especially at the tail, some of the detail just gets lost, and I think that that's an easy way to bring that back out.
yeah. And go ahead, John. I thought you were going to say something, buddy. Okay, one of the things that's kind of a challenge on this particular model is that the detail in this area in the tail is not good. The model itself suffers from some casting issues in this part of it. I've made one of these, and it's a son of a buck. Given where the mold lines fall on this part of the tail, it's hard.
Is it a model issue? Because our stoner is looking to get one done, and I told him I'd paint his, and that'll be some good information.
Well, I hope that it's maybe just the one I had, but what I'm seeing here on Craig's, it may be endemic to the mold itself. Gonzo, what I would do is if you're going to paint this for somebody, I would open up that kit and look at this particular part of the tail and say, listen, there's only so much I can do with this, and just to set expectations.
Got it. Now, he's not expecting anything big. He just doesn't have time to paint.
Yep, I hear you. The other thing I wanted to point out in this model that I really like is I love his basing on these guys. This murky water thing he's got going on is really cool.
Yeah, it looks like it's a really good effect. Really good effect.
So here we have
I
a
think
couple.
you can see that.
Go ahead.
Sorry,
Go ahead.
already jumping in. Yeah, you can see that base effect working really well here with these. Actually, I should let you introduce them because I don't know what the hell they are.
They are a synchronized team of Thralgs. So
Double Throg.
double Thralg. Thralg is amongst the most maligned of all Hordes models, and unnecessarily so. They're super cool. They exist on the table to knock upkeeps off of things with their tentacles, but they are in synchronized formation here. And you were saying, Seth, about these models.
Oh, just that I really liked the basing that he used, that you get some of the water coming up on the tails of both of the Thralgs, so you get the sense of movement carried through the model and through the basing, which I thought was a really great touch.
And the way the colors go in the base, it gives you maybe the impression of a little bit of ripples, too.
Yeah.
Especially the forward one, the one in front there.
Yep, right in this area here.
Yeah.
Cool. Here's some more. Craig reached out to me when he was painting these, and there's a few pictures in here of his fire frogs, and he did them as different species of the frogs. So Here you see the yellowish species. And once again, folks, here we see that, he's carrying this basing theme through his entire army, which really helps pull the whole army together, I think.
Indeed.
Yep.
And he's also, I think, using a similar technique here with the black hide here with the one thing I would like to have seen him maybe do a little bit differently on the black hide is to continue with that Mardi Gras coloration with the ropes, to kind of, because with the very kind of grayish looking skin of there, I think that having a little bit more color beyond even the mask would have been helpful to make it pop. Thoughts? Anybody?
I agree.
Not like it. I love colorful armies.
This is a colorful army, and now we're on to the next slide here, which is we now see the blue fire frogs, and then we see the 3 different kinds of croak-raters, and then we also have the, what are they? Bog trog
ambushers.
trawlers. Yeah, trawlers.
Trawlers. Yeah, that's them. Ambushers is a unit.
Yeah.
Bad job.
Bog trog trawlers in the multicolored regalia. So, man, this army is a testament to Bright.
I bet it looks awesome on the battlefield. Sorry.
No. I think it looks great. I bet it's, like you're saying, John, awesome on the battlefield. I like that, and looking at the bog truck trawlers, that those Mardi Gras colors show up again, that he's using that to differentiate them. Mm-hmm. So even though they're different, you still have the unity in the army. And that's a really hard thing to pull off.
Yeah. And Craig's doing a great job on these. Really looks fantastic. I also like that the way, obviously when you're doing the water effect bases like this, you're painting the whole model before you do the water effect. So, and with his choices, you're seeing the foot kind of in the water and stuff. It gives you that translucent look. Really like how that turned out on some of these models.
Mm-hmm.
So the next slide is the grumpiest of all Hordes models, the Ironback Spitter. And nothing says "get off my lawn" like an Ironback Spitter.
That belly is cool.
Yeah, it's super cool. He's really taken, some really bold colors on this one, and the way that he's tied those bold colors in the stomach versus the greens and stuff, I think is a really nice choice.
I assume this is based off a real turtle as well?
I don't know.
It looks like he's taken inspiration from like a turtle.
Yeah.
Well, I'll be the first here on the podcast to say I like turtles.
But not turtles.
No, not turtles. Turtles, fuck turtles. Fuck turtles in the mouth. We can't have that. They hurt children. All right, so that's it for Mr. Craig, and now we'll move on to friend of the show Kevin Bryant, who is so he is putting in. This is a monk model from a model line. Quite frankly, I'm unfamiliar with, Outland or something like that, and he's just showing off that he's doing some experimentation with different skin tones and going at a more dark colored skin tone in this one, and I think it goes very nicely with the orange clothing and stuff like that. Any thoughts on that? And what are some tips you might have, Seth, on doing different skin tones?
So don't trust paint lines when you look at skin tones.
Okay.
That's the first thing, and I think where a lot of people get confused is they start getting their eyes used to what paint lines look like rather than what actual people look like. So I'll admit that today at one of these street fairs, I was creeping on these people because they were deeply tanned and had obviously just gotten back from the beach, and I'm sitting there like taking photos of their shoulders because it's like, wow, look at those shades. And when you start, yeah, I'm a strange guy, I admit it. And remember, I work with children.
It hit. Well, that just ended the show right there.
But so when you're looking at doing darker skin tones, my first thing is go get a reference photo. and you want to get it digitally so you can start isolating sections and see what colors are actually there. Because you'll actually notice in shadows there's a lot of purples, there's a lot of blues, and the skin tone will still go up to a similar shade in a lot of brown and red-brown skin tones as what we think of as white people, that their highlights are similar shades of pink because it's still skin, it's still reflecting the same way.
Interesting.
So in this case of this model, I would want to see some highlights going up a little bit more to a desaturated base tone for a Caucasian model, because that would be a good highlight. And I'd love to see some shadows going down. He's got good browns. I think you could even use a little bit of purple mixed in with those browns, or a little bit of blue to get the bottom of the shadow to get a little bit more definition in the deepest recesses.
Cool. Really good advice on that one, Seth. Thank you so much. I might have to try that on some of these pirates that I've got going on. My last...
Yeah, Darefsky.
Go ahead.
No, finish.
I was going to say, I'm down to my last, 12 models, and they're all pirates. So I'm thinking maybe that would be a good experiment for me to do, is try to learn doing some skin tones with these last few models. And frankly, to put some diversity into my army, which would be super sweet.
Yeah, wouldn't that be neat if armies weren't all one skin tone? One of the things that I really enjoyed at War Machine Weekend last year is that Dallas Kemp spent 2 hours just demonstrating different skin tones, lighter, darker, more of like a fantastic elf one. And I just stole every piece of information I possibly could from him, and then talked a little bit about the theory. I actually stole paint swatches, and I still go back to those because it's a great way to start building your understanding of what you can do with the paint on these models.
Fantastic.
I really like the base.
Mm-hmm.
The base work I thought was really good with the deadfall and all. It looks like you picture grass with some dead leaves. Looks
cool. So if there's one thing we know about Robert Darefsky, is this guy paints the fuck out of red and paints the fuck out of green. And I'm here to show you tonight that he knows both red and green. We're going to get to the green. We're going to start with the red. So starting off right here, you see Robert Darefsky showing you how red is done with a what the hell, behemoth.
Yeah. God, I'm still not used to that new behemoth model. It is so good compared to the old one.
Yeah.
Holy moly.
Yeah, it's an awesome model.
Makes me almost want to play Cator.
Almost.
Congo, I said almost.
Red is hard, and he's really doing a great job. I think that, Seth, not to, you always talk about when we've gotten together and talked about painting, you always mention how at least one color, like you did on the skin tones here just a second ago, we were talking about using purples with skin tones. And here you see where he's using a lot purples to really bring a lot of richness to his reds. And I think that's a really, really a bold kind of choice to make, and it turns out beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, the more that you spend time looking at how light is actually moving over an object, you start noting all those different colors. What makes this red so rich is those very rich shadows that you never go to a black. You can see the full shape and volume of each of these armor plates, and those look awesome. I would still love to see just a little bit more edge highlight or spot highlight in the very brightest parts, using like a pink or even a flesh color, just because I think it would give it that little bit more pop, a little bit more attention. But if we could go back to the previous picture, Robert and I actually were talking about how to do metals, and if you look at the picture on the right, the barrels of these horrible, horrible death machines are beautiful. The shadow is moving where it's supposed to be. That light line is actually painted in. That's not reflection of the metallic paint. It's a choice. And you can see it mirrored on the other side. And if it was actually just flash from the photo, it wouldn't be mirrored that way. So Robert's put that in, which is perfect. But Robert, if you want to push this a little further, make your shadows just a little bit darker And then that same dark shadow that you've done on this barrel should also be showing up as the darkest shadow on the hand and on the foot and on the tips of the, I don't know what you call them, the bombs on Behemoth's fists.
His punchy bits.
The punchy bits. Yeah.
Yeah. Put in that darkness so you still get that bright. And that's looking fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This is top-notch work by him. And there's the back side of it. And then, once again, green. We know this guy can kick the shit out of green. So here's some fucking green for you, folks. You've got, this is a destroyer? Yeah, destroyer.
Mm-hmm. Yes, destroyer.
So, looking really good here. A lot of richness to the greens. John, you were saying?
No, same as a destroyer.
I think him and I were doing a hobby hangout, and he painted this one.
Cool. And Seth, any thoughts on this one?
I think sort of the same thing as Behemoth, where it needs to be brought up just a little bit more on edge highlights in order to create a little bit better definition. But if he's putting this on the table as just a game piece, it's going to look amazing. It's already great.
As a game piece, it's off the chain.
Yeah.
And here's another view of the same one. You know, I'm some of the metallic highlights on the golds. It seems like it might be an opportunity to pull up a little bit more brightness as well. I'm not sure what you're thinking on that one, Seth.
I think that in a lot of cases, this past weekend, I could talk more about this later if you like, but I went to World Expo in Chicago.
Yeah.
Which is essentially the Olympics of miniature painting. And what I noticed is that all of the fantasy models went up to almost white and went down to almost dark in terms of value. And the historical models did more what we're seeing here, where there was some variation of color, but the goal was that the color was true throughout rather than creating more of a cinematic effect. And it was interesting seeing that because I realized how much I like that contrast. It's just aesthetic choice.
Mm-hmm.
But if I wanted to brighten up this metal to push that contrast, I'd mix a little bit of silver in with whatever the highlight gold is and just hit those edges. A couple little spots here and there. Make that an area that your eye wants to look at.
You know, that's something I haven't tried, Seth, and that's mixing the silver with the gold, the highlight gold, because I've tended to use maybe like a straight silver to create a highlight, and maybe that's a little bit too harsh. It might be pushing. It might be more realistic to bring that gold and silver together.
Yeah, for golds especially, as well as bronzes, anything that's got some red or brown in it as far as metal, you need to mix your way up. And that's one of the things I think a lot of advice about using miniatures or painting miniatures misses is that a lot of that information is coming from companies that want you to buy their line. And so their line keeps increasing and is creating colors that are actually just mixes of two paints that already exist. So when you start playing with those mixes more, you can say, all right, I know I need to get just a little bit brighter, so I'm going to add just a little bit of silver. And then if I really want to push it, I'm going to put a single dot of silver on that gold, and it's going to look like it's a bright, sunny day.
Cool. All right, now this next slide shows that not only can he do fucking red, and can he do green, he can mix the two. He can do red and green on the same model. I mean, no, fuck. There's people can do red and they can do green, but can they do red and green and not have it look like a goddamn Christmas present? This does not look like a Christmas present. So I think that, Robert, you have succeeded bigly in this case.
Bigly.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. And like you said, the colors are great. The airbrush control is great. I just want to see those edges a little bit more clearly and a little bit more of that pop, especially on the black on this one, that he's got such great pieces. And on the top of the carapace, that red gets so vibrant. And then the black wrap around the stacks is just coal black. And it's like, oh, come on, Robert, you got this.
Yeah.
You could do this.
Yep. So we
believe in you.
The thing that we always want people to remember is that when we talk about different models, these are always constructive comments we're making. We want to. The purpose of a Brushhead gallery is to celebrate the work and point you in that next stage, that next direction that you're heading in your painting future. And I know I learned stuff from every one of these that we do, Seth.
That's awesome. I mean, it's why I do it. If you just want me to sit here and be mean to you, I can do that.
No.
I think Congo was asking for that earlier.
But, it's coming.
I mean, he likes those things. But, like, it's also been amazing to get to see people's painting get better. Like, Brian's pieces here are better than they were a few months ago.
Absolutely.
Back to you, John.
And absolutely, Seth, that was one of the comments I was going to make, was that I think Brian gets our award this quarter as far as greatest, like, sort of change over the last few Brushhead galleries. We featured Tracy Carter a Brushhead gallery or two ago, and the great progress that Tracy has made in her painting since she's been a Brushhead. And Brian, your stuff is really knocking it out of the park this time. Here we see Alexia in the Risen, and I love the expression on Alexia's face, and then the basing. I think Brian's basing work is really to be celebrated as well. It's really top-notch stuff here. Seth, you got some ideas on this one?
Yeah. So, Brian, everything that John said, I'm totally down with. A couple things I see that are really great is the highlights on top of the hair. That Alexia's hair, I see people who try to put the lights in the wrong spot, and you've got them just right on the very top edges. I also love the difference between the darkness and the lightness on the gauntlet, that's the kind of range you're looking for to create a real metal effect. So here's your challenge. Right now, this model is lit equally from all sides. That when you're looking at the difference of the colors, it's a very narrow range. So what I want you to do with your next one is really try to decide where is the strongest light coming from and make sure that your brightest highlights are focused there. You can do that by doing zenithal priming first. You can do that by painting it just like this and then going in with just one level higher highlight and saying, I'm only going to get the face and the shoulders and the cloak like she's leaning into something. However you want to do it, but try to give yourself a little bit more focus with that light so that the viewer has to look at a particular area because the eye will go to that brightest spot.
So if I were to be adding some highlights to this particular, let's take the middle frame here where we have the good hair and the gauntlet. Perhaps what we should be looking at is, if to take your advice here, Seth, is we should be looking at some higher highlights on the top part of this cloak and perhaps this first fold in the cloak, as well as maybe the neck part up here and the shoulder section. Is that what I'm hearing?
There, and I would also do the face.
And
so
the face.
Make another highlight for the brow, the nose, the cheeks, and the chin.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. Very good. Is there anywhere else on the model that should be catching that? Because I'm looking at the section here where there's the cloak that goes around her waist. Should any of that be getting further highlighted, or is that too far down in the model at that point?
So it's sort of Brian's choice of how bright he wants it to be.
Okay.
But here's the way that I think about it is that if I'm not putting a whole bunch of pure white on the face as the highlight, that bright light and focus is probably not going to go further than the waist.
Got it.
Because in this model where Alexia's arm is, she's blocking most of that light from her body. But the shoulder would get it, the cape would get it, the collar would get it, and maybe just a little bit of the forward knee would get a little of it.
Got it.
But not much further than that, because we want to make sure that our brightest brights are in one area and the darkest darks are opposite.
And with Alexia, given her history, having her being like sort of leaning in and blocking against the light, as she's a very dark character, almost tells kind of a story, which is pretty cool. So, Brian, really amazing model. A couple of cool-looking Thrall warriors over here on the side. And then, of course, a guy putting the effort into the
Yeah.
Risen, because so often, I'll tell you what, Alexi and the Risen is a challenging. It can be an easy unit to paint, or it can be this, and I really appreciate the amount of effort that Brian put into these Risen to give them that little extra, rather than just kind of maybe give them the old dry brush of the frostbite and then wash them with an ink or what have you. This is a this is a
The
different
old
take on it.
ghostly thing that people are going for nowadays.
Yeah.
To make it easy to paint them all.
Yep. So really good looking unit here. Lots of character in the base.
And hats off for the painting the arc markings so easy to see for everyone and so consistently well in each model.
Yep. Really
That is
excellent
not
job.
easy.
Nope. Great job. Here we see some more of his his Cator. I believe that Brian is mostly playing Cator these days. I mean, that's what he was playing against me when he kicked my ass at the Sioux. And this is, I really, really like I believe this is the solo that tells the Doom Reavers to STFU. And
The UA, yeah.
Yeah, the UA. And he does a really nice job with an OSL here, I think, coming across on the top.
That grass on the front.
Oh,
that
yeah.
grass.
I know. With the snow right on the
Man.
tips, just like you'd expect to see it.
That's legit.
What are you thinking, Seth?
So I'm gonna just do like a little comparison. I love the OSL, and that's what I want to talk about, how to push that a little bit further. Is it looks like the way that Brian got it is that he dry brushed, and sort of in a circle and kept it nice and tight. And if you're just learning to do OSL, or you have OSL on fur, that's exactly how to do it. Like, he's done it right. What I would do, and I'm going to keep saying this, I think, all night, is push it a little bit further to brighten it up a bit, maybe at the very tip of the staff. So there's the faces on the staff. If the first staff, or the first face on the very top, has a little bit of extra light, just on that, it's going to make the OSL actually read better. Because it creates a clear source that everything is coming out from.
So make that
And you
a
can do that.
brighter highlight of the white green sort of.
Yeah, and not even a lot, just enough that it's clear that this is where the light is really emanating from, and that'll do a lot for the model as a whole.
Excellent. Cool. And then we have some Doom Reavers down here, because you can't have the UA without the unit. That's not allowed in list making.
What?
So then down here we have a continuation of Brian's great work with faces. Very expressive faces on the two what are these things called?
Manhunters.
Manhunters.
Yeah.
And Yuri the Axe. That might be the best Yuri the Axe I've ever seen. So just the face is super expressive. Really good base working.
And a nice, on the female Manhunter, nice work on the blade of doing the true metallic metal, where you've got metallic pigment for the shine and the non-metallic pigment for the shadow, and that's looking good. I also love how he creates some really good volumes in the muscles of the male.
Yep, really good.
Mm-hmm.
Let's move on to the next one here. We've got 17 done, and we have 55. We have 55 total. We're going to have to pick up the pace a little bit here, but here's some more from Brian. We have some. You know what? When I was setting up the presentation, I didn't know what these were, because they're Cossite Woodsmen.
What? What? Oh, there's a new unit?
I know,
It's coming
right?
out?
I think it's coming out soon. I've never seen it.
I remember Nigel talking about them with some sort of stupid crazy list way back in the day.
Exactly. So Cossite Woodsman, looking really good, staying with that consistent theme that he's got going on. We got ourselves starts with a D, ends with pain, whatever these things are.
Broken.
Yeah.
Spam. The
That-
new spam.
Degenerate? Is that what they're called?
Well, starts with a D.
It starts with a
I
D
like
and
the
ends with
straight
pain.
lines. Those lines are good. They
So
look good to me.
now, I've always been a fan of the Man of War Kovnik because that axe, that dead axe, and then he decides to kick it up one more notch by sticking a goddamn flag on it. Maybe it's supposed to have a flag on it. I don't know, but I really love the reds on this one. Man, they just really sell to me the curvature and the size of the pieces. I mean,
That's what she said.
Okay, and then that happened, and of course,
All right.
speaking of that's what she said, a splatterbore, and and then Rorsch and Bryant, of course.
Of course.
Then we have I believe this is Strakov 2
See?
with some really awesome basing.
Mm-hmm.
I love how his two little sidekicks here are kind of like down in a trench, and he's saying, "Fuck that noise! I'm up here. Come get some."
What I really like is he's got these really artistic and big bases, but he's got it all marked, and it's easy to play if you were playing a game. The basing doesn't interfere with the base for measurement or able to see stuff.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
I think
Which
it's
is a good thing.
I think it's a very interesting conversion, taking the Kara Sloan pieces and putting that in for Strakov 2.
Yep.
The one thing that's worth thinking about, just as we make conversions of any kind, is that the other two support models are very dynamic in their movement. And then we've got somebody who's standing and he's trying to make sure the base is clear, that she's so confident that she can stand up there. It reads a little odd with the rest of the unit, but I don't dislike it.
Yeah. Brian has on a lot of his models has done this gender bending thing where he'll take a model of one sex and turn it into the same model but of the opposite sex. And I think it really is. This is a great job of that. I didn't realize how much of that was Kara Sloan.
Mm-hmm.
That in itself is nothing but dripping with irony. Looks beautiful though. And I had to put these in. This is one of the most beautiful colossals I've seen in a long time. This is Victor, obviously. The basing on this one is what first off, I want to highlight this fist and the weathering on that fist. That fist right there has seen some shit. Let me tell you what. And then you come back here and you can see that he's used some really good bits from Signar, and he's built himself a little trench set up here, and the use of the barbed wire bits and all that kind of stuff. I think this is one of the more beautiful Khador pieces I've ever seen.
I agree.
I like it too.
Yeah, great facing.
I like purple.
And it turns out he doesn't suck at doing the Forge Seer dude either. And he once again has done a traditional one, and then he's done a female head version of his second one. And the choices on the colors for the highlights and stuff. And then I want to highlight on the second picture the cloaks and how he's pushed the highlights on these.
Mm-hmm.
The paint scheme is really cool. It's bright and it's clean.
Yeah.
Yep. I got one more picture of this one, and that is the jewel here on the shoulder pad. Just really, really excellent work.
Mm-hmm.
Nicely done.
So, Brian, you get our award for the kind of the most improved over the last few Brushhead galleries. It's kind of a vague way of saying it, but you get our most improved over the last few, because this is just knocking it out of the park hard these days. Here we go, Tal Quizar. We got continuing on with his circle. We have here Ghetto Ricks, and he's got some bold choices, Caton. I gotta tell you that he's got some bold choices with the orange of the weapon and the red on the armor and stuff like that. I think the thing that I would say to him to kind of the next level some of this stuff is that it seems like some of the paints are a little bit on the thick side. and getting them thinned out with a wet palette is, I think, going to take his painting to another level.
Yeah, I also worry about the glossiness. It looks like it's got a gloss coat on it, and I know that people like putting that on because it protects their miniatures. I just don't find it works as well as people think it does, and it kind of ruins some of the effect. Makes the horns just as shiny as the metallic bits, as the face. I'd say don't worry about that. Maybe hit it with a dull coat spray, which will keep the detail, and then you can hit the metals with a little bit of metal, and it'll shine a little bit more.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of Vallejo's matte varnish applied with an airbrush. But if you don't have an airbrush, yeah, I mean, you can a little bit of Tester's dull coat just to knock that shine off of there goes a long ways towards making a darn good looking model. Continuing on here, we have another picture with the bold choice on the orange weapon, as well as his work on his press ganger model.
Nice. I like that the shield is very clean.
Yes. I also like he did a little bit of freehand on the bottle in the back on the second picture. And Tal Quizar is up there, and I believe it's Thunder Bay, Ontario. So he was a press ganger literally in the middle of Jack All. And so I met him at the Sioux and met his tribe as well, and super sweet guy and very appreciative of him sending his stuff in. Now, this is from the skirmish game for Games Workshop. I forget what it's called.
Shadow War.
Shadow War. I figured Death something would be GW for sure.
Armageddon.
Shadow War Armageddon.
Yep.
Okay. And here we see some MDF terrain that he's put a little bit of paint on and showing off some of his models. Peter Ceretti.
I have to state that whoever made the MDF terrain did a good job, because that looks very much like the old Necromunda terrain. Like, very much like.
And then here we've got some Spacemans, I think.
The Space Marine Scouts and Dire Avengers, yes.
Yep. And those are Dire Avengers, you said?
Dire Avengers, indeed.
So that's Eldar, right?
Correct.
Cool. I really like the weathering on the terrain. I think that looks really good. It's amazing what a little bit of what a little sponge work will do for you. Because that's, I think, what that is. That looks like it's a black sponged onto the MDF after it was painted, as well as some rust colors that were added onto here with like a little bit of sponging. And not to let you think that all he knows how to do is the GW, is a bloat thrall and
Mobius.
Yeah, there you go. I have never played against Mobius.
I only played against a Bolt Thrall once.
Yep.
But I like the way both of them look. Having done a sort of undeady model, it's getting some differentiation on the skin at the parts where it's irritated is difficult.
And good rust on the legs.
Yeah, I like that down in here. Looks really good. Cool. And then we have some from Pierre Le Troadec, and I just murdered that.
Yeah.
I wonder if Discordia has any thoughts on how to pronounce it. You have pronounced it very poorly. I will not enter into this. So I really like this. The model on the left. She is obviously from the Alchemists Guild, and I don't know the model, and I'm sorry, but I sure like the graduation on the green smoke and things like that, as well as kind of the OSL on her knee and stuff like that. Any thoughts on any of these and the skin purpling, the kind of the way that it is causing that model's skin to deteriorate because of all the nonsense that's being done to it. Any thoughts on this one, Seth?
Yeah, I especially like that skin. I know that when Pierre sent one of these in a while ago, one of our pieces of feedback was that the model had been largely purple where there was bruising, and then all the way through the healthy skin. So creating this very focused area of decay, disease, and damage is great. I like that. I like the OSL. I do think you're at a place, Pierre, where you could start working on how you're doing your eyes.
So, funny you should mention that, because in his email that it was included in here, he wanted specifically some advice on eyes because they're driving him crazy.
Okay. Step 1. Go to Meg Maple's website. She has the best overview of how to paint eyes. But essentially what you do is you don't paint them white. You paint black, and then you paint the inside white, and then you can put a line on each one so that you've lined up where the pupils are going to be, and then you build out from that to make circles. That's the way to make the most realistic, simple eyes, and she takes it like 10 steps further. For the majority of modelers, just doing that simple process is enough, and it avoids what's going on with the model on the left, where you've got goat eyes happening, where you've got the big, long, kind of awkward pupils. It also prevents you from having models who are looking different directions.
I'm sitting right here.
Or it gives you a choice of doing it.
It's a bold...
You can embrace it.
Meanwhile, at the John Spencer School of Painting, what's the problem?
I try not to make my models look like me. I mean, let's be honest. No one wants that.
Oh, John, just for that, I'm pouring another glass of Kraken.
Yeah. Victory is mine.
If Menoth John can play Gareth because he looks like him, you can paint however you like.
Damn Skippy. All right, super good. I was gonna make a comment that I like the cod piece on Harry the Hat, but that's probably not appropriate.
Phrasing.
Not phrasing. We're not doing phrasing on Painting with Menoth John. Anyway, did we ever do phrasing on Painting with Menoth John? Now we have Allan Soles, no relation to the guy that makes the designer of War Machine and Hordes. That's Jason. And here we see a strictly better version of Bosun Grogspar than I'm working on. Really good looking piece on this one. Although it's funny, his his paint choices for his gun are literally identical to mine.
I like the way it looks, honestly.
Oh, it's fantastic. It's way better than mine. I really like the face. I love the highlighting on the face on this one.
Mm-hmm. I actually want to talk about that wood grain on Alton Ashley there.
Yeah.
On the stock of his right. That looks good to me.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think that detail is actually on the piece. I think he added that.
I don't think so either. I've painted him.
Yeah.
Poorly.
I really like the amount of time he spent getting the lenses correct on his goggles. A lot of expression in his face. Really good looking.
Yeah,
Go ahead.
He solved the whole problem with the eyes by having them look in one direction. So he has only got to put white on one side, but it looks good and fits with where the rifle's pointed. I really like the face a lot.
Yep. Good stuff. Alan knocked it out of the park. Now we have a pair of gobbers.
Gobbers.
Yep. We have a gobber chef, and we have what's his fuck?
Reinhold.
Reinhold, yeah, that guy.
The not sexy version.
The not sexy version of Reinhold.
Most overpowered model in the game right now.
He's pretty badass.
Oh.
Take away all that. It's the takeaway.
It's got to be the hat, yeah.
So, really love the hat on it.
I really like these. One thing though, Alan, is that you got the top of Reinhold's hat is black, and you've got this nice shading coming down. The top of the hat should be as bright as the brim. So definitely bring that up just a little bit more.
Yeah. Makes sense. I mean, because it's a bowler hat. It's a dome-shaped hat. Up there, it should be relatively high as far as the coloration is concerned. But really looking good.
I really like the gold buckle on his satchel there, especially the dark lining on the inside. I think that looks really good.
Yep.
Just like the way that looks. Stands out.
So here we have a Wraith engine, and we all know fuck Wraith engines, because they end up in Ghost Dicks, whatever that theme list is, and it can go die in a fire. Much like many Wraith engines, this one is kind of tilting to the side, because that's what heat does to them. And but I think that this was a very purposeful pose, and I think it kicks ass. I really do. I really like this. Love the basing on it. Very flavorful base. Love the combination of the sand and the water effects. The blighted golds are excellent. A little bit of corrosion going on here and there. I think this is a top-notch number. Seth, your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I really like it. I love the pose and the base. The green almost glow on the inside of the Wraith engine is wonderful, so I love this view. The only thing, and this is me being really nitpicky, is that when I look at the rust, I can see that whatever you applied it with was round. And rust doesn't do that. So what I would do is sort of work out that rust spot with either a second piece of foam that's more straight or more triangular, so that it'll follow the edge rather than come out as a ball. Other than that, I really like it. Yeah, and there's places you could take it, but this is a great piece.
Yep, awesome. I just moved to the next slide here just to kind of show a little bit different view on that, and with the rust and things like that. And then of course we have Tom. We have the Testament of Menoth, and good looking
Legit.
piece there. Yep, Silent Bob, never looking better. Really looking good. We also have a really beautiful Bart, top-notch looking Bart on this one. God, just nailed the face. Really nailed the face on this one. And then of course we have Magnus 1, looking really good, looking pretty badass.
Look as good as that sculpt can look.
Yep, there's not a lot you can do with that sculpt, and that's a pretty good execution with it. I mean, he got every ounce out of that model. And then I want to move on to we have, I believe, the leader of the Cador mechanics.
Yep.
And we have Kane 1.
I like the graying temples.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh yeah, so do I. As being a gentleman of graying temples, I love that. And also we have 3 very cool GW Lizardmen.
No.
No. Don't know what they
Those
are.
aren't GW. I don't know what those are.
They're pretty badass though.
I'd almost say that they're not cartoony enough to be that Super Dungeon Explorer, but they look something similar.
No.
I don't even think those are multi-part models, honestly.
Don't care what they are. They're badass, and I'd use them for.
Yeah.
I need a Gatorman army of them. I need
Yeah, no doubt.
with comic sledgehammers, kind of like
Giant hammers.
they're kind of Harley Quinn sledgehammery things, which I kind of dig.
Yep. So it can always be hammer time.
Exactly. So Allan Soles showing he too can get on the red bandwagon. So get ready, Robert. Here comes another red, and he can do tan, and he can do
I like the tan.
yeah the tan. That's a great color scheme. I'm just saying, that is a wonderful looking color scheme for Cador. And then we have 2 of the Striker 1s and a Striker 2 up top. So rock on with your bad self.
2 Striker 1s and a Striker 2, correct.
Yep. So rock on with your bad self up there.
Oh, who's this hack?
I know, right? I don't even know who this guy is. So some clown named Seth Watkins sent us his shit. What a hack. Anyway, no, this is really beautiful, man. Is this where are you going with this one?
So actually this was my Father's Day gift for my father this year. And it's also at the beginning of the year you said what were our painting goals, and 2 of my painting goals were actually met here. One was to do something with an actual cast shadow. So the shadow on the base is just painted in.
Oh, wow.
And the second was to do something at a much larger scale. So this is a 75 millimeter model. It's almost as tall as, well, it's taller than Behemoth. It's a big piece, but that meant I got to have a lot of fun with texture. I got a lot of fun with creating different fabrics, and then also the freehand on the skirt, the green skirt. The model itself had some huge issues, so I got to play with my sculpting. But I'm pretty pleased with how it turned out and learned a lot from it. So I've got a couple other big 75 millimeter models I'm going to work on for myself and for competition, and we'll be growing from this. So you guys get to critique me.
I had no idea that shadow was painted in. Holy shit.
Dude, I live in a glass house. I can't throw no stones.
I think you succeeded with the shadow because it sure fooled the shit out of me.
Yeah, that shadow is amazing.
Thanks.
I really, really like the purples on the cloaks. Really think that's a thing. Seth, if I had one thing I would ask you a question about is some choices on the face. I'm
Yeah.
the with the face, perhaps and I don't have this model in front of me, so it's hard for me to get an understanding. But is the face as soft in feature as this one comes off? Because I don't see a lot of. It seems like it's almost like a Voldemort kind of a feel to the front of his face.
Yeah, actually, he was that soft. Most of the detail I had to paint in. So the nose was there, but the creases around the cheeks and the mouth, the dimple in the top lip, were all missing. It was very soft.
Wow.
So that was part of where I did some of the sculpting. And it also, because the face was tilted down, it made it very hard to figure out how the light should hit it.
Yeah.
So that it worked. And if that's one of the things that I'm taking away from this piece is that when I was looking at the light from the base light and the face match, but parts of the armor, especially on the upper chest, don't quite read right. That the light is coming from just a little bit off, but it's enough to make it read funny.
Do you think his left shoulder should have been a little bit higher than his right because of how high you've taken the left leg?
Yeah, definitely. I think that what there should have been is a very clear line of highlight down his left side of the body, following that leg down to where the shadow is cast.
Fair enough.
And then that should have gone all the way up.
Fair enough. I mean, that's easy for that's easy for me to sit here in a fucking green chair in my basement and talk about, but I could not execute that. I'm just trying to understand kind of maybe where some of your issues as the painter are with what your own work did.
So if you're looking at the picture all the way on the left and you look at the cod piece, like little things like this are what got me, is that the dark piece and the light highlight should be flipped based on where the light's coming from.
Yeah, well, it's a fucking elf, man. It's whether or not he even needs a cod piece is up for debate. So there you go. And here's another set of pictures here. These are, I mean, dude, these are very beautiful, and I'm sure your father was over the moon with how beautiful this was.
I think in the middle picture here, you can see a little bit more of the definition in the face.
Yeah.
But honestly, I also screwed myself with the photographing using a blue background, so Robert can yell at me later, and then it worked against me the whole time.
Fair enough.
I'm just kind of upset that it's not a playable model. I mean, it's not on a round base.
Yep.
If the base is too high,
yep,
you can't field this model on the table.
Totally
it's true.
Totally worthless as a model.
I will super glue him to a huge base for you.
We've clearly seen enough bullshit out of that. He's a huge base model, exactly. He's a battle engine. He's a gigantor. So here we go. Scott Kidwell with his... so Scott is painting all of his mercs to match a Coast Guard theme. And this is... I believe it's called the PwMj, I think it is. And it's actually named after a real Coast Guard cutter. And so he's picking up the red and the white of the Coast Guard there, along with the yellows. He's got a theme going in his mercs, and he's continuing this on. Scott's one of my oldest friends in the War Machine Hordes community. Love this guy. Super glad he's continuing. Oh, it's the Midget, not Pee-wee. The Midget. And the Midget is actually named after a real Coast Guard cutter. And hats off to the Coast Guard. Those guys are fucking crazy, and they save people's lives who have done stupid shit, and they go out there and save their ass. And so hats off to the Coast Guard. You guys don't get enough love, that's for damn sure. And Scott, this one looks super sweet and totally legit. Then we have from Adam Shaw, this Nightmare Come to Life.
I love that model.
This is an orc
cool.
something?
It's an orc riding some sort of wyvern thing.
So,
I don't know if they changed the name of wyvern to copyright it or not, but it's super cool.
Really love how high he's pushed the highlights on a lot of these things, and it's terrifying and beautiful at the same time.
I also like the color choice, that he's got the complementary and contrasting colors in there really well. The contrast between the green and the yellow, and then the complement between the yellow and the purple, and seeing that throughout. So it's very striking.
Mm-hmm.
I do want to suggest to Adam that when you've got a piece this big, you need to make sure that your shading is really clear, because you've got the beginning of good shading on the left or the right leg where the yellow is, but I don't see that carried over on the face, and I'm not sure if that's upturned, so that might be the issue. But I would just love to see a little bit more shading down here so that the orc is a little bit more of the focus, because that seems to be what you're aiming for.
Yeah. It might be some lighting too. I mean, I'm seeing maybe a little bit of overexposure on the photo as well, and maybe some of that's hiding some of the things he's trying to get across with the shading as well. Because then there's this.
Yeah.
And I don't even know where to start with this. It is so beautiful. The wings, the way he goes from the dark purples up into the very light gray blues. The fire looks almost translucent. They did a beautiful job on the skin tones on the bottom. Plus, he fucking took beautiful pictures, and the beauty of the photography itself helps sell this model as well. I'd love to hear your critique and your thoughts on this one, Seth. But this one for me was one of the outstanding pictures in the entire Brushhead gallery.
Yeah, I think this one is really good. Sort of the challenge with doing any Legion scheme where you're staying true to, or even taking notes from the studio scheme, is you've got to be really careful with creating contrast between your light and your dark, and you've done a nice job of that here. But with the photos, I have trouble giving you too much feedback on your whites, because there's a lot of definitely cast shadow. So instead, I just want to say this flame is great. If I was going to make it a little bit better, I would put a little bit of blue glaze or turquoise glaze on the handle of not the handle,
like the hilt of where the spearhead connects?
Yeah, where the head connects to the shaft of the spear. Just a little bit to indicate that light is coming off. And other than that, play this. This is beautiful. Oh, and I will take a note from Gonzo. I don't see any arc markings.
Yep. Unplayable trash. Throw it in the garbage, Adam. You fucked up. All right, so then we have one here from Danny Rowell. We have a Titan ready to party, bringing the blue fur, and bringing the menacing unplayability of the front half of the model. Way to go, PP.
I do dig that model, though, and I do dig that paint scheme. That's legit.
Is that a bronze back or is that a Titan?
It's a bronze back.
That's a bronze back, yeah. I thought so.
Yeah. But it's a blue back in this case.
Exactly. And then Tracy Carter bringing us the creepy shit. Bringing the creepy shit out of the Malifaux. And we've got ourselves... I don't even know what these are.
I think those are stitched together. I'm just guessing because I don't play against that stuff. And that is Teddy.
There you go. Love it.
So I gotta tell you, Tracy, I showed my wife this before the show, and she just looked at me and she goes, "That is the creepiest thing you've shown me so far." So congratulations on that.
Nice. I think this is a 10 out of 10 on creepy. The dancing, especially, what's funny is that the picture on the right, where it's taken sort of at ground level, and it kind of pulls you into the scene. Even though I know she was just taking this picture with her phone, and just for the hell of it, it's a really effective picture.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Then from Paul Baker, we have a couple of trolls here. We've got Borka the One, and then we have that guy, the one that I don't have, because I'm not going to buy a battle box so I can get one model out of the 5 that I don't have.
Yeah, the one out of the battle box. I don't remember his name either.
Yeah, I don't know.
Oh, John, do you want a copy of him?
Yes.
Okay. Remind me and I will grab him and send him to you. I've got a couple of them right now.
Okay. Awesome.
There you go.
Because I'd love to play that guy.
Or people give you things and just say, just keep that. And I'm like, okay.
Super sweet. Yeah, I'll ping you for that one, tough guy. I'll send you something in return.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's Ragnar. But I mean, yeah, it's still kind of bogus that you have to buy the battle box for those guys still.
Tired of it. They need to be putting that shit out in metal. It's nonsense.
In any case, I like the runes on the front of the bases for the arc marks. I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Yep.
It probably says "suck at Cricks" on the front of it.
It's possible.
By the way, on the front of my Discordia, for those of you who are watching along, you might see some runes on the front that does say "suck at Cricks" in Retribution runes. Let's see here. So then we have a Necron Overlord, and then we have another thing, and then we have a corn thing on the right-hand side. And he told me in the email what each of these things were, and the only thing I remembered was Necron Overlord, because I have one of these models.
That one's a dwarf, one of their new dwarves. I forget what they're called, because they changed all their names. He's kind of cool. And then, yeah, some sort of corn guy. I really like the blood spatter and corniness of him. Corniness?
He's super corny.
Corniness.
Yep. So
sticking with that.
Bold move, Caton on the purple with the Necrons. So there you go. And then so Rave Bomb, Barry Holmes, as everybody knows him as, super sweet guy. Wanted to. These are not his paint jobs. He wanted to highlight, but he had purchased these Convergence models from somebody else, but felt like he wanted to show them off. So he just wanted to kind of. He sent them in to show them off. So we got a Prime Axiom, we've got a Dongulator and another Dongulator. And then we have Dongulators, which are beautiful as well. As far as I'm concerned, all current Convergence models are Dongulators. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know what any of them are. We have, I guess,
Father Lucant and
Aurora,
Flappy Girl, and
Aurora.
Steel Soul Protector.
Yeah, there you go. The Steel Soul Keg Protector is I think one of their best models. I just love it. It's got such a cool thing going on. And then we have, from Retribution, we have a Jedi Knight. And then
it's Obi-Wan.
I know, it's totally Obi-Wan. And then we have over here, we have a demon-y thing from a different model line. Showing off his Sword of Bones and whatnot.
Yeah.
And then we have from the same model line, we have this tree spirit chick. I am Grutess, and it's pretty good. Barry was a little worried that this was going to be a little not safe for work, but it's
fine.
It's just wood.
I skipped every joke. I'm gonna skip them all. Just go.
Yep, just moving right along. So good job, Rave Bomb. From Congo, the Jorgamond, we have this is this was the part of the presentation I'd gotten to where I refused to do any further cropping. And this is a Relic Knights model. John, you know about the Relic Knights.
I do even own that faction. That's Isabel. She's sort of a kind of Healy Knight, but she also kicks some butt.
Okay.
She's one of the first wave, and the first wave of models were not the best quality. The faces are a bit soft, like that other model you had, that scale 75 model, Seth, and but the rest of the detail is usually pretty decent.
Yep.
So keep that in mind when you look at the face, that there's not a lot there to work with in some cases.
And then the last ones here are from our graphic designer, our in-house guy that does all the awesome overlays that we use for the show. This is Gary Smith.
That's some sort of orc thing that is totally awesome.
Yeah, this is an orc thing that's happening with...
I don't know what orc thing it is, but it's awesome.
Yep. Super love it. And it's, God, what a cool model. And then we have Brun and Lug. And they are beautiful. Really, really like the fur on Lug, and really look Brun's looking.
Creepy blue eyes on Lug. That's
I know, right?
That bear's staring at my soul. It's still looking at me.
There you go.
I don't know what
I like the metal.
Yep.
The
And
metal's
folks,
really cool.
there we have it. We have okay, that's good. I'm trying to hang on. God, this is so distracting. So let me pull this back over here. Okay, so there you go. There's our Brushhead gallery for the second quarter. We're going to do the raffle right now, live on camera. We're going to flip over to the crotch cam. Here we go. Woo, scary, swooping in. Okay, here we have, this is an official Robert Darefsky dice tray. And here we have a D12 that we're going to use. And I have right over here, I have a list of everybody that submitted a picture who happened to be also a patron. And we're going to re-roll if it becomes Seth Watkins, which is a 6, or a 12. So we're going to re-roll on a 6 or a 12. Is everybody ready for all of this to see who's going to win a Fisherman's Guild? All right, here we go. And the winner is 11. 11 is our graphic designer, Gary Smith. Gary Smith, you have won a Fisherman's Guild, and we all loved your super sweet and totally legit take on the on that orc thing. And we are going to send you the Fisherman box as soon as I pull my head out of my ass and send it to you. So I think my son just gave a woohoo from the other room. All right, so that was Troll Chuck giving us a woohoo from the other room. Awesome. Let me see. I'll get back here to the face cam. All right, here we go. So Brushhead Gallery. Woo! Thanks everybody. Appreciate it. Thanks everybody for bringing it in. Seth, thank you for your awesome insight. While we still have 8 minutes to go, I think we have one show to talk about. One movie, and here's our new graphics. As you can see, we've got some John Wick 2 going on in the graphics, as well as whoever that chick is.
Great Wall. She's
yeah,
from the Great Wall, I think. I hasn't popped up on my big screen yet, but
no, this is the gal is.
Oh no, definitely not.
It's fucking Haley.
Oh, it is Haley.
Yeah,
oh, Haley.
So,
Haley.
but yeah, but Gary, we still love the graphics, looking super sweet.
Absolutely.
And Sassy Greyjoy, yay, Troll Chuck, outstanding.
I love the quote too. None of this makes sense, but we've got to do this shit.
All right, folks. John, you saw a show about a spider this week, or at least a Spider-Man.
I did. I saw the new Spider-Man Homecoming because we needed a new Spider-Man reboot, and actually we did because by all accounts, Amazing Spider-Man 2 was not very good, even though I thought Amazing Spider-Man 1 was okay. This is, I mean, bar's low, but the common agreement is this is the best Spider-Man movie since Spider-Man 2. Again, bar somewhat lowish for that, but more importantly is that it is definitely a return to form for Spider-Man. This is Spider-Man in high school. I forget to say he's a freshman or sophomore, but he is one of the two. He's 15 years old in high school, doing high school things, and also trying to be a crime fighter when, as a previous show, Tony Stark wants him to sort of scale it back a little bit. I said earlier on the pre-ramble, if I were to nitpick anything, it would just I would just be nitpicking. There's no actual glaring flaws in this movie. The closest thing to a glaring flaw is how much high school-y it is, and for those of us who've been away from high school for a very long time, you realize quickly how much that shit don't matter anymore. But it's done very well. It's a very good Spider-Man Peter Parker story. What's his name? Why did my brain stop? The villain. Someone help me. Michael Keaton. Michael Keaton is a great villain. He is the best Marvel villain since Loki. Again, bar's like medium high. Not many of the villains have been really good, but again, like I said in the pre-ramble, it's more about the hero's journey. But this managed to be about the hero's journey and to have a good, compelling villain in it, and I enjoyed the crap out of it. The action's cool. It's got some good humor elements. It really just absolutely hits the bullseye. What you want for a Spider-Man movie. I hope Sony continues to work with Marvel Studios and making these movies and not do anything crazy, because I hear their Venom movie is going to be all them and no Marvel Studios, which I think would be a mistake.
Yeah.
There are a crap ton of cameos in this movie. I don't want to spoil any of them, but there's some cameos where you never thought you might see that particular person again. You see them. Some good stuff. don't anyone worry this is Iron Man 3.5 or any such bullshit. Tony Stark's in it, but he's not in it a ton. He's definitely a supporting character. It is mostly a Spider-Man story. It's very good. I enjoyed the crap out of it. I am gonna give it a half shot of Kraken because, you know, the high schooliness is occasionally a bit much, but that's the only remotely major flaw, and it's not even that bad.
Well, that's high praise for sure. And, you know, we talked about this during the pre-ramble a little bit. The rest of us, the other three of us that are on the show tonight, have not seen this movie yet. I'm looking at, hopefully I did my homework enough tonight that maybe I can take the family out to see it tomorrow. And we'll see.
I almost saw it twice because I came out of the theater because I got off work early on Fridays. And as I walked out, two of my friends were going in to see it. And I knew they had a group together, but two of them were already there. I almost sat with him, wandered over and got tickets and saw it again, but not quite there. But it's really hard for a movie to make me want to see it twice in a row.
Yeah, that's high praise.
The last one I did that was Avengers. Was the only one and I think Iron Man 1. I was like, I really want to just see this again right this moment.
Yep. You know, I when I saw Civil War and I saw how likable this actor was as Spider-Man, I really had high hopes for the reboot, and it sounds like they have absolutely hit it out of the park.
Yeah, absolutely. It's spot on. I don't want to say it's better than the earlier ones. It's different than the earlier ones.
Fair enough.
Superhero movies have evolved so much in that time that what you expect is different. So when you go back and watch them, sometimes you're like, not as good. But you got to realize when they came out, they were so good. Like, honestly, Spider-Man 2, when it came out, was like perfect. I'd given that movie 0 shots of Kraken out of there because Doc Ock was a great villain.
Yep, I loved that movie.
How are they taking these Spider-Man villains we never thought would be any good? The Vulture and Doc Ock. Those guys were chumps. And they make them cool, sympathetic, interesting villains.
Yeah.
How do they do that shit? But then the Hobgoblin, you're like, he's okay.
Yeah.
And Venom, you're like, fuck that guy.
Cool.
But yeah, go see it. It is good. You got to make sure they know that this is the right way to do it, so that the movie sales receipts equal, you know, higher numbers, so that they can keep working with Marvel and making this right, rather than trying to make their own way, because they've proven multiple times they don't know what they're doing.
Fair enough. And any other movies from anybody else this weekend?
I watched Hellboy again. Oh, the first one.
Super amazing.
Still a great movie.
Yep.
Yeah. Still good.
Yeah.
Still good. It's
I like
gonna
both
be a
of them.
classic, I have a feeling.
Yeah, I like 1 and 2.
I also watched a movie called Kill Command.
Okay.
I have that listed on my list of movies to see. I saw a preview in a Ruby Tuesdays or something, and I'm like, that looks remotely interesting. So hit me up. No?
No, watch it anyway. I will never tell anybody not to watch a movie just because it's always fun to see how they come back and punch me later. But it was really predictable. It was pretty sad. It was pretty bad.
Yeah. I ain't got time for that. I got plenty of potentially decent movies to watch there.
Nobody got time for that.
I'm going to tell you, though, but it's got really good special effects. The ending has a really good twist, so...
All right, you sold me on a possible maybe there. I'll keep it in mind, then. I won't delete it from my list of movies to watch.
Well, on that note, you know, guys, we have reached the end of our usual limit of shenanigans and whatnots and all that kind of good shit. I'm going to bring up the old music here because that's what I do. Where is it? There it is. Well, folks, we've laughed, we've cried, we've kissed another 90 minutes goodbye. We have thank you very much, of course, Mr. Seth Watkins, the talent beneath our wings. Thank you, Mr. John Spencer, the wind beneath my wings. And thank you for whatever it is I'm thanking you for, Gonzo, the irrational one. The weirdo. Ladies and gentlemen, appreciate it. Appreciate you guys tuning in this evening. We're not far away from fucking Game of Thrones, I'll tell you that. When does Game of Thrones start up again? Is that next week?
Next week.
Next week?
Next week.
May have to say fuck this show. We'll see. We'll see. Do we need to adjust our start time, John?
No, we didn't last time. I mean, DVRs are a thing. Come on.
All right. Super sweet. All right, guys.
YouTube's a thing.
Yeah. On behalf of John Spencer, Mr. Gonzo, and of course the inimitable Seth Watkins, I'm Menoth John. We'll see you back here next week on Painting with Menoth John. Good night, everybody. I see fucking Facebook hung up the ship halfway through the show again.
Not halfway. Way earlier than that.
Fuck Facebook.
Yay, live alphas.